Oh my God, there's something inside of me. Hey y'all, it's Jim D. So I have quit my job, as you can see from the title of this video. If you watched my last video, then you knew that this day was coming. It was March 31st was my last day. And here I am on the other side of that. It's only been about a week and a half or so. It was just last week. So it's still super fresh to me actually. And I just want to talk a little bit about, why I quit, talk a bit about faith and courage and my next steps, and just, process a little bit verbally with you all, give you some motivation, some inspiration, and some context and some background and all that. Like a lot of my videos, this is really just for future me to look back on. Right now, this feels like this huge, momentous thing that I've done, and it is, but I also have enough context to realize that it's a far bigger deal than it really is, and future me will look back on this video and be like,
look at her, just precious. Just precious.
All right, so let me just talk about why I quit my job. I've worked in my job for about 3.5 years, and I knew pretty early on that it wasn't the right role for me. I knew arguably about 6 months in that it really wasn't the right fit. It was a lateral move, and I was really doing what I ended up doing with this job, which was leaving a situation versus kind of going to a situation. I really just didn't want to admit to myself that I was not strong enough to live a life that matched my values. And so instead, I pretended that the values that my life did espouse were the actual truth. Also, I'm recording this in the middle of the road because I was like, there won't be any traffic. And literally, I think there's a car that's about to turn into my road and I'm gonna be really upset. No, it kept going. Okay, cool. Because I'm like, I just set up this camera, y'all. Okay, cool. I worked for an education nonprofit. Before then, I'd worked for social, economic kind of nonprofit. And I always knew in my spirit that I wanted to be doing creative things, but I just didn't think that it was something I could do. I hadn't seen anyone in my family do it. Child of immigrant parents, being an artist necessarily isn't really encouraged career field. I didn't really see anyone in my life doing it. It just seemed really hard and difficult. I didn't think I was even strong enough to go through the challenging parts of trying to make that a real thing. And so instead I was like, all right, well, I know this other field is doing great work, is really helping people. It is aligned to parts of my values. And so let me go ahead and do that work instead. And that's been the last 10 years of my life, has been being cowardly and not being strong enough to say, actually, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I know it's important. I know healthcare is great. Salaries are awesome. Living in a 1-bedroom apartment in a cool downtown area is like all these things that I let other people say were important for me. I just took on because I just wasn't strong enough to say, no, this is actually not what I want. And so I want to talk a bit about why I finally quit. So I think what really allowed me to quit was obviously during the pandemic, we are really having to confront what's going on in our lives. I came across some kind of prompt about what if this was your last day, et cetera, what would you do? And I realized I wouldn't really do anything different in my life. I have a really amazing set of friends. I live in LA. I love living in LA. I feel really blessed about my choices and whatnot. But I was the only thing that I would do is quit my job. And so I realized if I was on my deathbed, if COVID got me and I was hacking up a lung, the only thing that I would be dang, it would be having not quit my job. And so that was when I knew, girl, this is your regret. So you need to actually go ahead and do it. That's when I knew I was gonna do it. And then originally my timing was way more long-term. I was I'm gonna do an even 4 years, close out strong. And what happened is I just got super duper burnt out, more burnt out than I've ever been. I've been burnt out before. That's what happened at my last role is I worked there for 4 years. I let myself just work myself to the bone until I was just so tired and so burnt out and didn't have anything left to give really. And I was so adamant because I felt terrible about how that ended at my last role. So I was okay, I'm not gonna do that this time. I thought I could solve my problem without addressing the root cause of my problem, which you can never do. And I learned the hard way, so I'm telling you now, so you don't have to learn the hard way. And I realized that part of my challenge was that I was not willing to be honest about how much I was able to do and how tired and burnt out I was, and be vulnerable. Be vulnerable with myself, be vulnerable with my team, with my coworkers, with my manager, and say, hey, I do not have this. I cannot do this. I know I should be able to. There's nothing physically keeping me from being able to type up these things and create these documents and whatnot. I don't have it in me. And instead of just being honest about that, I just wasn't. I just avoided it until literally the last call of my last day at work, where I had a call with my manager and I was yeah, I just didn't do any of the stuff that I was supposed to do for this last week because I just had nothing left. As soon as my HR documents were in that I was out, I was just gone. I'm so sad that it ended like that, but I was just reflecting that honestly, it was a reflection of my experience, right? Because the majority of my experience at my last role was amazing. Like I had amazing coworkers. I was doing meaningful work. We had really cool experiences. I grew so much in my own leadership and my own creativity. I got to do remote year while working with that organization. Like they gave me the permission to like travel for a year remotely. I had so much amazing stuff happen, but every day when I logged in, I knew that I was betraying myself, which is like wildly dramatic to say about doing a job you don't want to do. But your job is 40 plus hours of your week. And towards the end, I made a bunch of mistakes, which was humbling for me to realize. Not like, oh, misunderstanding, like no mistakes. See, this is a mistake that you made. And the most important one recently was that I took on someone else's full job in addition to my full-time job. So there was a woman on our team who was a full-time director. I took on her role on top of my job, and I like half-heartedly asked for more money, and they were like, no. And instead of being like, well then why would I? Which is really just points to self-love. Like why didn't I love myself enough to say, hey, if you expect me to do this whole scope of work, I expect to be compensated fairly for it. I didn't love myself enough to say that. And all of my challenges come from me not being honest with myself and not loving myself enough to say, hey, you're worthy of love, you're worthy of respect, you're worthy of time, you're worthy of rest, you're worthy of days off, you're worthy of vacations. Like, you don't need to work yourself down to the bone to justify any positive things people say about you, any love you get, any accomplishments you get. It just doesn't work that way. And I just had to learn the hard way. And I really wish I didn't. So future Chimdi, like, can we stop? Because I'm tired of this. I really wish I'd have to learn that the hard way, y'all, but I did. And so now here I am without a job. I was just reflecting how it's not even, like, I'm really grateful to be out of it, but it's not this, like, I thought it'd be this, like, rah, rah, rah thing. No, it's like a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. It's like a, oh, thank God. Like, thank God that he freed me. As if it was this huge burden, but it wasn't a huge burden because of the work. It was a huge burden because I was not telling the truth to myself. And all of our, I shouldn't say all, a lot of my problems come down to me not telling myself the truth and living this life that is not honest and then having to deal with the repercussions of that. I'm just so glad that with this experience, I am way closer to actually living my truth. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi from My New Life in the Woods. Let me know in the comments, who are you? Why are you here? Have you recently quit your job or do you really, really want to? And so you're watching motivational videos of other people who have because you're hoping their courage will be your courage. No judgment, that's 100% what I did before I quit my own job and it gave me a lot of courage. So like seriously, you do what you gotta do. Just know that I am rooting for you to make the choices that are right for your life and only you know what those choices are. So you can do it. But if that's not your story, and if it is, comment below, let me know. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to see more, and let's get back to the video. I want to talk about faith, and I want to talk about courage. I want to talk about my next steps. I've been getting a lot deeper into my faith. You probably can see it in my YouTube channel, but if if you're a friend of mine in real life, then you definitely have experienced it. I literally am talking about Jesus every day in most conversations. Those are my favorite conversations to have, are ones around spirituality and purpose and why we're here and what we're doing and all that. It's one thing to say that you believe in something and say you believe God has you and say you believe, that you trust the Lord to take care of you and provide for you. And it's another thing to actually show up in your life and take actions that show that you really do have that faith. And this was an example of me actually saying, I know you're going to take care of me. I know I don't need some external force to take care of me. You are enough. You are more than enough. And actually, the life I can have with you, the life you can create for me, is bigger and better and more beautiful than anything I can create on my own. And so after 30 years of doing a okay job at creating a life for myself, I'm ready to genuinely let you be in charge of my life. And that feels amazing. And there's such a sense of peace that comes with giving up control and surrendering to letting God take over your life. So highly recommend it if you're considering it. And then I want to talk just a little bit about courage because, obviously a lot of people leave jobs, right? A lot of people, to me, leaving a job without having a job is wild, but a lot of people do that too. There's an affirmation that I say, if you've seen my affirmations video, then you'll recognize it. And it is, I choose courage over comfort, and it comes from Brene Brown, actually. I've been saying that affirmation for a couple of years now. I'd say for easily 80% of the time I've been saying that affirmation, I didn't believe it. It was an aspirational affirmation. It was like, one day I will genuinely choose courage over comfort. And you'd think that I would, right? Because you can't grow, you can't learn if you're being comfortable because you're not being challenged. So I would have said, oh no, yeah, I leave my comfort zone. I like to be challenged. Not in any real way. Not in any real way that would genuinely challenge me and genuinely challenge my comfort. That's just, to me, speaks to the power of affirmations, because I done did it. I chose doing the courageous thing, which is stepping out on faith, choosing a life that's more aligned to my values instead of being comfortable and just showing up to a job every day that I was good at and people liked me at, and that I had good coworkers and it was comfortable and I got the salary and I got the 401k and got the benefits. I said, actually, that's not aligned to the life that I want to live. So I'm going to step out into the unknown and see what happens. And I'm so glad I did it, and I'm so proud of myself. And I think saying that affirmation again and again was a key reason why I was able to do it, because it started training me to think of myself as someone who is courageous. So strongly recommend that. And then next steps. So what am I gonna do now that I'm not gainfully employed? I don't know how to say this, y'all, but for my American viewers, America is a scam. It's a scam. We actually shouldn't be working 40 hours a week for 65 years so that we can retire in Florida and then die of diabetes. That's not actually a beautiful life. Or it isn't for me. But I really feel like America kind of makes it seem as if the only way you can have success is to buy your way to success. Leaving in 2018 just to visit overseas for the first time was the first time the crack in that facade was really created. And once that crack it's like any crack. Once you create it, it's only a matter of time before all the other pieces just come falling down. It's really tough because, like, I have a lot of friends who are still in that mindset of, like, I'm gonna buy my way to happiness. I'm gonna buy my way to freedom. I'm gonna work my way to freedom. I'm gonna work my way to success. It's tough to be like, okay, good luck, love you, because that's what you have to do, because people are on their own journey. And if you tried to tell me this a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been trying to hear you, because I was like,
That sounds like something a broke person says. So go ahead and enjoy being broke in the woods, and I'll enjoy having a nice job in my nice apartment.
And so that's really kind of what I'm doing now, is just actually I'm attempting to experience a life that is not driven by pay this bill, buy this bag, get this new apartment. Oh my God, there's something inside of me. Also, I really do believe that all animals and people want me. And so whenever an animal or person is on me, I'm like, I get it, but like, could you not? I understand, but could you not? But yes, what I'm gonna do with my next steps is, well, first and the most logistically, I'm just gonna live. Like, I'm gonna stop living to pay bills, and I'm gonna instead live to live. I'm gonna live to just be here. And I'm gonna understand experientially and not just intellectually that that is actually the point of life, to just be here now, to be present, and just experience what that feels like. So first, I'm just gonna visit a bunch of friends all over America. And it's all tentative, right? Because I'm realizing, like, even my plans are just like projections that could or could not happen. And then I'm gonna head down probably to Mexico and just chill out there for a while and just like live on the beach and just vibe out for a bit. I did not realize how much rest I was denying myself, and it's really time for me to catch up on it. I'm really excited to start observing the Sabbath in a real way, to spend 1/7 of my entire life resting the way Jesus did, the way God himself did. I read this interesting book. It was called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and it references the creation story and how God made literally everything in 6 days. And he looked around, he was like,
This is good.
and then God himself rested on the 7th day. And it's like, you think you need to work as much as you work in, when God, the creator of everything, including you, was like, I'm gonna take this 7th day and chill. That was the motivation I needed to actually very intentionally live a life of resting on that 7th day. But as the book kind of talks about, it creeps into the rest of your whole life once you start realizing that life is meant to just be here, right now. I'm just remaining open to opportunities, to possibilities, because I know God's plan is beyond, like I said, any plan I have for myself. So we'll obviously just see. But yeah, so that's why I'm recording this in the woods right now, because that's the life I get to live, where I get to just hang out in the woods for a little bit and no one's gonna say nothing to me. But that's it, y'all. Just wanted to give you this update / give future Chimdi this update. I wonder where you're at now, girl. I wonder what you ended up doing. Probably something cool. Let me know in the comments below. Are you currently employed? Is someone paying your bills right now? Do you work to live? Do you live to work? Have you ever quit a job without having a job? First time for everything, y'all. I'd say it's akin to shaving your head. It's probably a bigger deal than you think it is. And then once you're on the other side, you're like, I'm so glad I did this. I look so good with a shaved head. All right, y'all. That's the video. I will see y'all later. Bye.